With football season upon us now, there's a lot happening in the news, so be sure to subscribe to my other channel, JG9 News, where I give you up-to-the-minute updates on everything happening in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, and I give my thoughts on everything taking place around the National Football League today. And now, on with our feature presentation. So, what an incredible game. Honestly, if this is an omen for the 2024 season, then we're in for a treat, because this game had absolutely everything. From the Chiefs winning, to the Chiefs receivers dropping passes, to some shoddy officiating, it's like we never left, and we're picking up right where we left off. And we're doing this with a game that deserves a name, like Fail Mary, or the Mile High Miracle, or the Miracle of the Meadowlands. The Toe Game? Toe to the Post? An homage to Ghost to the Post? The Isaiah Unlikely? It's a work in progress. But for those of you who are not watching this in the immediate aftermath of the game, allow me to set the scene for you. It's September 5th, 2024. It's week 1 of the NFL season, and as we're kicking off a brand new year under the lights at Arrowhead Stadium with the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions, we've got a rematch of last year's AFC Championship with a battle between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. For Baltimore, this is a chance for them to slay the dragon. Ravens-Chiefs has blossomed into one of the greatest rivalries in the league in recent years, and ever since Patrick Mahomes got to Kansas City, it seemed as though this was the one roadblock that the Ravens could never get over. As in the Mahomes-Jackson era, the Chiefs were 4-1 including the playoffs entering this clash. Now, it was a chance for Baltimore to prove to the world that they were going to be able to compete against the champions, and for a chance to get the monkey off of their back. And if you're going to beat a team as good as Kansas City, you need solid coaching from an in-game management perspective and solid execution from the players. Which, yeah, we'll get to that. But before we do get to that, if you like learning more about the weird and wacky history of the NFL, and not just games from the past, but breakdowns of games that are taking place this year, like the one we're talking about right now, then this is the place for you. Because we post every single day about the weird and wacky history of the NFL, and we do live streams for all the games too. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. Well, early on in the contest, the Ravens are faced with 3rd and 10 at their own 43-yard line, and Lamar Jackson steps up in the pocket and takes off for a gain of 7 down to midfield. Lamar Jackson ran more in this game than Bart Simpson in the intro of The Simpsons Leaving Detention. He had 16 rushing attempts for 122 yards, having more rushing attempts and more rushing yards than any player on either team. And while this 3rd down run did not get the Ravens the first down, it did set up the team in midfield with a chance to pin the Chiefs deep. It did set the Ravens up with a chance to pin Kansas City inside their own 10-yard line, just like they did from the same exact spot earlier in the game. And it gave the Ravens a chance to force the Chiefs to go the length of the field if they wanted to extend their lead. And it gave the Ravens, or not, or they're going for it. Early on in the second quarter, with the ball at midfield, practically ensuring the fact that if you give it up, the Chiefs will have a short field to work with and only need about 1 first down to get a field goal and extend their lead, they're actually going to go for it and be super aggressive this early on in the game? Okay, we'll see about this one. Well, I'm sure the Ravens had something good drawn up here for this one, right? Right?
Love to run Jackson here. There we go. Flowers on the edge, brought down by McDuffie.
Yeah, I don't think that was supposed to happen. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that this was not how the Ravens drew it up whatsoever. A pass behind the line of scrimmage on 4th down, when you need 3 yards, basically putting your faith in the receiver to get yards after the catch, with no convoy of blockers in front of him? Good call. Really good call. Sure enough, the Chiefs take advantage of the short field, get a field goal out of it to make it 13-7, and considering the fact that the Chiefs won 27-20, and this turned out to be a 1-possession game, yeah, that could have meant a ton. That really could have meant a lot. And sure enough, this man right here, head coach John Harbaugh, took a ton of criticism. I'm not going to show all the critical things said about this decision, but if you were on Twitter, this summed up a ton of it, and that this was an awful call, especially considering some of the other players on the team and their skill sets. And yes, This play looked ridiculous. John Harbaugh's call looked absolutely asinine because it didn't work out, especially because the play was a pass behind the line of scrimmage. But to be completely honest, I didn't have a problem with it. Really, I didn't. Not only was the decision to go for the right call, but so was the play call itself. John Harbaugh got a lot of flack for this game and the way he called it, and to be fair, a lot of it was well-deserved. But this fourth down failure? Nah, this was the right move. And I'm going to defend him today and go to bat for him here. This is in defense of, where I look at plays that looked awful in hindsight, but really weren't awful calls. And with that, let's dive right in. Alright, so there's two components to a play like this. There's the decision itself to go for it, and there's the play call to try and get the first down. So let's start with the decision in question. You're at midfield and it's 4th and 3. This is one of those spots where it's not inherently obvious either way as to what you should do. It's very situational, depending on who the opponent is and how everything has gone in the game at this point. And yes, most times on 4th and 3, you're not going for it this early in midfield. At the opposing 45? Yeah, but at midfield? Probably not. It wasn't egregiously stupid, like going for it this early in the game on 4th and 10, but it was still a risk that you might not take depending on the situation. But fortunately, we don't have to go back very far to realize the logic employed here. Because from a very similar situation just 2 drives before, the Ravens had the ball at midfield faced with 4th and roughly 4. So the identical yard line and an almost identical down and distance. There, John Harbaugh decided to trust his defense and use the logic of, let's win on field position and try to pin the Chiefs deep. And it worked. Jordan Stout got a punt all the way down to the 10-yard line. Want to know what happened next? 2 plays later, thanks to a 23-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes to Isaiah Pacheco and a 19-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes to Dallas's most wanted, Rashee Rice, the Chiefs already had the ball in Baltimore territory at the 48-yard line. There wasn't really an in-depth press conference afterwards. Harbaugh was only at the podium for 4 minutes, and part of that was the opening statement. So there weren't any questions asked about this play and the reasoning behind going for it on 4th and 3 here. But I'm willing to guarantee that he used the flow of the game to factor into that decision. Last time we were in this spot and punted, it didn't work out, and we immediately gave up that field position. You can't play scared offensively against the Chiefs, because they're just going to drive right down the field on you if you give it to them. Maybe if the Ravens defense forced a 3 and out, or didn't allow the Chiefs to get past midfield 2 drives before, things would be different and Harbaugh would have punted there. But knowing what happened the last time, he knew that it was a lost cause to try and pin the Chiefs deep when you have the ball at midfield and 4th and short. Because even if you win the field position battle for the moment, it's not going to last. It's almost like this. Suppose you're playing golf against someone for some cash. It's a par 5, and you hit a good drive off the tee, as does your buddy. You know you have to win this hole. It's the 17th hole, and you're down by a stroke, and this is the last par 5, so time is running out. You've got about 210 to the pin on your second shot and a giant water trap in front of the green, but you have a landing zone that's 70 yards away from the green. You decide to play it safe and just lay up, giving yourself an easy 3rd shot in. Play it safe, get about 80 yards away, then get close to the pin on your 3rd shot on the approach. However, that strategy is completely wasted when after you hit your shot, your buddy hits his shot and reaches the green in 2, thereby ending your chances of winning the hole and winning the game. The very next round, you play the same exact course with the same exact wind conditions, and you're trailing by 1, and your tee shot is once again 210 to the pin, with your partner having a similar lie as he did last time. Are you going to go for that landing spot after what happened last time? No! You're going for the green! You're going for it in 2. And that's the logic employed here. He wanted to be aggressive because the last time he played passive, it didn't work out. I absolutely get where Harbaugh was coming from in that department. Okay, so we established that the decision was totally fine to go for it. But what about the play call? Just because it's the right decision doesn't mean it's not a dumb decision. It's the right call to go for it on 4th and inches at the 35-yard line. But if you call a double reverse flea flicker, I'm going to criticize you like crazy and call it a dumb decision. And yes, because this didn't work, this play call looked absolutely insane. You're not going to throw it past the line of scrimmage? You're throwing it behind the line and hoping that Zay Flowers makes the Kansas City defense miss? How is that a high percentage play? However, I can't really fault Harbaugh for this one, because this play call was actually sort of perfect for that situation. Really, it was. Before diving into the call, let's go back to what happened last year at the AFC Championship, when the Ravens had to go for it in the fourth quarter and were faced with 4th and 3. So the exact same down and distance. There, we all knew the ball was going to Flowers, and the pass was complete for a first down, as it went on a slant pass to the middle of the field. With that, you had to think that the Ravens offense, head coach John Harbaugh, and offensive coordinator Todd Monken expected the Chiefs to cover the middle. They did it last year on us, so they're going to do it again. But nope. Let's throw them something completely different. They're thinking we're going to the middle because we did that last year in this spot. So we're going to go to the outside this time, and we should have numbers that way. It was a game of chess, and it was a game of chess that should have worked. Because look at this shot right here as Lamar Jackson is getting ready to release the football. This should be an easy first down. Nelson Agholor is lined up at wide receiver, and he's got a one-on-one with Trent McDuffie with no safeties or linebackers nearby. This is the exact matchup that the Ravens wanted. You couldn't draw it up any better than this. I mean, if I showed you this still frame right here, you would think that this play resulted in a first down. Get the pass off quickly so that no offensive pass interference can be called on a block, and have Agholor get to his spot. If Agholor holds his block on McDuffie and does the bare minimum that can be expected for a wide receiver in that situation, then this is an easy first down for Zay Flowers, as he can bounce it to the outside. At that point, the closest defender to Flowers will likely be the guy on the far right side of the screen, who, in the best case scenario, would have the angle to get to Flowers at the 45-yard line. This was going to be a gain of 5. This was the play. The only problem? Nelson Agholor freaking sucked. Agholor completely whiffed on the block and ran a route, despite the fact that the ball was never going to him, and despite the fact that this was not his assignment at all. If Agholor did what he was supposed to do and just block for Flowers, we're looking at an easy first down for the Ravens, and we're not talking about this play in the context after the game. Now, you could still say that this is on the coaching staff, because if you expect certain players to perform tasks that are not attainable, and that's the only way for the play to work, then it's not a good play. And that is true. If for a play to work, you need a small running back to block Micah Parsons, or you need a kicker to successfully run 40 yards on a fake field goal and outrun the edge guys, then it's a crappy play. But I don't think it's too much to ask for Agholor to just lay a block. It doesn't even have to be a good block. Literally any sort of traffic whatsoever to prevent McDuffie from getting there, and this is a first down. This was 100% the right call with just absolutely crap execution. And of course it's going to look stupid when you throw a pass behind the line of scrimmage when you need a first down, and it ends up not even close to the sticks. But it didn't have to look stupid. If the receiver does his basic job, and Agholor knows his assignment, which you would assume that he would, then it's a first down. The coach is absolved of the blame here. And this is not to say that Coach Harbaugh coached a good game, because trust me, there were a lot of things that didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. The Ravens barely used Derrick Henry, going drives at a time without him out there, which seems to negate the point of why you get Henry in the first place, seeing as his purpose is to just bulldoze people for the first 3 quarters and wear out the defensive line so that in the fourth, either he can bust out a big run, or Lamar Jackson can use his speed to get around the banged-up defensive line in front 7. There was some questionable timeout management at the end of the second quarter that bordered on dumb decisions, especially the timeout after a play out of bounds and the non-timeout at the 50-second mark. There was the awful timeout management in the third quarter when the Ravens had to burn 2 timeouts in the first 9 minutes on defense. Again, Harbaugh did not have the best of games from an in-game management perspective, and no one is going to pretend or argue otherwise. But at least when it came to that 4th down call, this man right here is completely blameless. And I also don't want you to confuse it with this. The man that coached in the game between these two teams behind me right here is not the best in-game manager as a head coach. He really is a bit overrated in that regard. You might remember last year he made some really dumb decisions, including a game against the Indianapolis Colts where Zay Flowers fair caught a safety kick. And if he didn't fair catch the kick, then the game would have been over and the Ravens would have won. However, Harbaugh ordered Flowers to fair catch the ball, which did not work out in the slightest bit. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. So again, Harbaugh did not coach the best game, and he is not the best in-game manager in general. But in terms of this play, no problem whatsoever. No, the fourth down play to Zay Flowers did not work. In fact, it did not even come close to working. And it looked awfully stupid considering how bad Aguilar whiffed on his block. But I had no problem with the play call whatsoever. And John Harbaugh did not deserve the heat he got from it. Because when you consider the fact that the Ravens completely subverted the Chiefs' expectations and did so with a high percentage play from a completion standpoint, the fact that the Ravens tried the other way earlier in the game with playing the field position battle, and it didn't work whatsoever, the fact that the play would have worked to perfection if it was executed properly, and the fact that the Chiefs got the look that they wanted that would have made this a very easy conversion if everyone just did a halfway decent job at what they were supposed to do and what they were expected to do, this is one decision that you can definitely make a defense for. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to cgiulianihpu.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.